Things are pretty evolving around the AI space. But when you talk about AI has been actively looked at not only by the governments but also by the enterprises. Enterprises are now using AI into their business processes. You have to make sure that it is secure to use. If there's any like monitoring tool which you can suggest, if there's any privilege escalation or any like excessive attempt.
Yeah, I mean, the regular threat intelligence tools can be used, right? Because this combines both, behavioral based, which it observed based on the actions it had performed, and it also combines with dark web data, right? The risks can originate from any direction, or several factors can contribute to this, right? And given especially the LLMs. Let's focus on very key aspects. If this data is not locked down correctly, it leads to the leakage of high sensitive information.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing great. This is Taha Sajid, and welcome to another episode of Security Pulse. Uh, Today, we have a special topic. It's been the talking point for most enterprises, most startups. Anywhere you go, any conferences, any shows, or if you just want to Google, AI has been all over the place. And we have been experiencing different like developments of AI in different parts of the world, especially with Gen AI coming in, like DeepSeek, LLMs coming in, so things are pretty evolving around the AI space. But when you talk about AI has been, been actively looked at not only by the governments but also by the enterprises. And enterprises are now, using AI into their business processes, which means that you have to make sure that it is secure to use, right? So to talk about all this, we have Mr. Sudhir with us. Sudhir is a principal identity access management architect at IBM. He has been, working in this identity access management for over like 15 years now. Uh, he has, like lots of patents against his name, and especially what I really like about his work is he's more into the practical use cases of identity access management, and he's keep on trying to see innovative solutions how we can harden the identity access management, as well as how the enterprises can make the most use of these solutions. So welcome, Sudhir, to the show.
Thank you, sir. Taha.
So to start off, Sudhir, like like AI security is a top concern now, right? But if you generally think from the security standpoint, security is always an afterthought, right? People like often wants to build innovative solutions, and then as a part of testing, they include some security test cases, right? But now we have seen more like active involvement around the AI security space. So, in your view, if you want to like shed light that why AI security is now a top concern, and why just not build a good AI solution and just go uh, and run with it, right? What is your thoughts on this?
I mean, this significant concern, as you just said, the enterprises originate from several factors, right? And if you got to pick the top ones, they are the rapid AI adoption, as you just said. Everybody is talking plus AI or AI plus, right? Nothing other than that. And the evolving of the attack surface with these new components that are coming into the mix, right? So if you double click on the rapid adoption of AI, the businesses have given AI the center stage, right? You touched upon that. And they are integrating AI into their core business processes, core business operations, right? Which in turn increasing their exposure to security threats, the primary factor, right? And apart from this, AI is used heavily in decision makings, automation, and customer interactions. Pretty much you hear this everywhere. When you go talk to any enterprise today, this making them more attractive for adversaries, right? Because they are now getting access to where they can never used to be before with certain processes. As now AI is being embedded into any of these core, starting from the scratch to the high level processes within the organization, right? And on the other hand, if you look at the new attack surface, the risk landscape is evolving rapidly, right? Because of introduction of these components into the mix. And these AI models can be manipulated or poisoned or misused, leading to security breaches, data privacy, and compliance risks. So hence, if you combine all these together, for sure, CISO wouldn't sleep well.
Yeah,
As
true.
it, yeah,
Thinking about CISO couldn't sleep, just to give a funny story here. Yesterday I was at a conference, and there was CISO, who asked, like, there was a like bunch of like IT security architects and like CISO sitting in the room, and there's one gentleman who just stand up. He said that, hey, what are the main top three things which couldn't get you sleep, in the night. And like everybody was expecting somebody would say that, hey, my IT teams, my development teams, my like security threats. There was one guy who said that actually, it's my kids and my wife that I that that makes me awake at the night. So yeah, I mean, like, true. So AI has been, as enterprises is looking at AI more seriously now, so they are now like considering security risk as well into it. And talking
true.
about AI, like integration, we talk about the large language models, right? Which makes a significant part of the AI development. Now, when deploying like LLM models, because I know you have a patent, around that, and I really like the idea where you use that to filter the false positives, right? I've been following your research on that. So tell me more about it, like, Sudhir. So what do you think when deploying like LLMs, and if I want to securely deploy LLMs, can you give us some heads up to what are the top two, three areas which enterprises should pay more close attention in terms of deploying LLMs?
Sure. I mean, the risks can originate from any direction, or several factors can contribute to this, right? And given especially the LLMs, let's focus on very key aspects, right? That would actually impact. The first one being the usage of massive data for training LLMs. These are trained on pretty heavy data, used for training these models, right? If this data is not locked down correctly, it leads to the leakage of high sensitive information, right? This is a
True.
prime aspect, and you have seen in recent news the big logos as well have actually resulted in this data leakage, um, because of blunders from the researchers, right? And this opens up the ability for injection of malicious code, which is kind of a adversarial activity, right? The next one is the dependency on open source AI models, right? Not everybody can build and train their own models, right? There are heavy dependency, especially today in the current trend of leveraging these open source AI models that are available in the market, right? The problem is if these models are not built using secure standards, obviously they result in
Mhm.
come up with a potential inherent risk, right? And this would actually lead you to the supply chain attacks. I mean, because these code is not owned by us, you are actually adopted to this, and you don't know how this has been utilized, right? And on the other hand, models can misbehave despite of being trained not to do it, quote unquote. I mean, you should have your own guardrails, but there are certain ways you can deviate it due to the adversarial inputs, how you interact with the model. You can make it in such a way that it misbehaves, right? So we got to control all these things, and these are the primary things that these LLMs would be targeted. And these are the key focus areas that need to be looked into in in deployment of them and safeguarding them.
So let's break this into two categories, Sudhir. This is a very interesting point that you just made up. One is the models which I'm inheriting from the open source world, right? Which are the open source AI models, and then I'm fine tuning those models to my use case, to my data sets, right? There is this one category of this. And the second one, I'm building the AI model from scratch, which is just I'm using my own like data sets and all those things to make my own thing, right? And mostly what we have seen is enterprises don't rely on the open source model. They have their own sort of like LLMs, what they train on, right? So in both of these categories, if let's say, because what I assume is that if you're developing something of your own, you are making it more hardened, you are following all the best security practices, you can
Yes.
control a lot of things, right? Do you think that if we are let's say like prioritizing security, like standard checks, all those things, would it be any different in terms of performance and scalability and like the decision making abilities? Would it be any different? Because one thing, what I've noticed, or why the enterprises are not like like fine tuning it, or putting more security thoughts into it, like with the fear of that, if I let's say restrict some data sets, maybe I would not get my desired result. So how do you see this uh, like uh, like fine tuning security into both models, just and to make sure that you are getting the desired output as well?
These are two different tracks. Like, one is utilizing the open source models, and the other one is building your own model, right?
Mhm,
Obviously, there would be certain risk would have been dropped because you are building it from scratch, and you would ensure that you have proper guardrails in building
mhm,
these models, right? But
mhm,
when you look at the open source models, not many organizations would allow you to consume those open source model. If they do allow, they do have a pre-canned list of models that were vetted out, and that's where they recommend it, right? And these LLMs that are coming in, or the frameworks that are used within the organized, like Granite models, or models coming in from Google, right? Whatnot, these have to go through the company's ethics checks, and also in terms of security checks before they get approved, right? And once it is approved, then obviously, like, these have gone through a thorough vetted process. You should still be able to leverage that. And also
mhm,
there would be certain categories that need to be, or standards that need to be followed, which is established at each organization level, which is what the ethics are, right? On what kind of data that you can supply, or what kind of
mhm,
input
mhm,
that can be given, right? And that
mhm.
would also follow certain data classification methods, right? On what data can be given as an input. You must have seen many issues related to certain sensitive information being fed into the chatbots, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
things like that that had resulted in serious issues. Yes. So there is no difference than a software lifecycle management, DevSecOps. This has to go through the same process. It's no different than that, right? You got to enforce security and coding standards into the development process. And the elevated problem here is access, the amount of access that these AI models would have in terms of both permissions to different endpoints within the organization, and
Mhm.
also enormous access to data, which was never, which was actually in a very close safe before, right?
Yeah.
So you have free access through this, and this is where the problems comes in. So I would certainly recommend that this has to go through a proper cycle, development cycle, with the required security standards in place
Got it, got it. And any
at
any
various levels. Yeah.
Got it. No, no, very well said. There is also just want to add on. When you talk about secure development life cycle, there are different automations and tools that are available in the market, which you can which you can leverage, right? But you need to be very specific to what is suitable for your for that a application what you are building in, and
Absolutely.
what models you are running into, right? Because if it's missing some important protocol checks, and you can end up losing a lot of money, right? So this is something which I want to like add on here. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah, and it
and
is not
talking
just
about.
LLM itself, Taha, right? So there are certain code assists that are available. Like, for example, IBM had something called Watson Code Assist, right? Even if you're not trying to build an LLM, you're trying to build a regular Python code for your API purposes or something.
Mhm.
Your Watson X Code Assist is recommending code snippets, right?
Okay.
And these code snippets are a kind of utilized to improve your productivity and making sure you got to deliver faster. It also performs your code debugging as well, right? So everything, like wherever you have AI, securing AI itself is important, like LLMs that you just brought up, and also consuming that information back into another aspect also needs certain proper vetting process.
Nice, nice. And you made a very interesting point earlier about the role-based access controls for the AI workflow. So I want to just quickly shoot the gate towards the access management side of the things, right?
Mhm.
Uh, for you, working in the identity access space for over like 20 years now. I mean, what do you think? What are the privilege access risk in the AI workflows? And why it is such a critical issue when securing AI systems. So tell us about something about your experience, and in your view, why this is the main risk which every enterprise has to be aware of.
Yeah, I mean, there are two core aspects here. One is in order for you to AI to work, you need to give it access to data because that's how it learns it.
Mhm.
And the second thing is in order for you to get AI execute things directly, it needs to have access to endpoints,
Your resources, right? Yeah.
resources. Everything is an endpoint for us. Like,
Mhm.
let it be an application, let it be a
Mhm.
system,
Mhm.
whatnot, right? So that means you're giving it access to two critical things within the organization. Very, very critical things, right? Data and access governance.
And yeah.
So if an adversary can get hold of this, it's a gold mine because he gets data and he can perform anything with the access that this particular AI system has because of the privilege levels, right? So these adversaries can manipulate models to introduce biases or introduce security backdoors, right? With permissions that these AI models have been granted, you can actually kind of perform the reconnaissance and then go through privilege escalation, and you can impersonate as the AI
Mhm.
itself and start executing the things and get to the desired quote unquote bad outcome that the adversary wanted, right? And data integrity is at risk, as I said, unauthorized access to this data. You are not supposed to access it. AI is supposed to access it. But
Mhm. Mhm.
behind the scene with the backdoor, you are got access to this data,
Yeah.
which is again a data breach, which doesn't even caught under your data loss prevention, whatever rules that you write, right? Because you're following the red carpet that was laid for AI,
Hmm, hmm, hmm. True, true, true.
right?
And there is
Yeah.
one interesting thing as well. So, if, for example, if I'm, if I know, like, hey, this my AI has an access to this resource, my AI, like for the data, for the endpoints, everything is there, right? So if I want to, let's say, restrict the access, or rather restrict, I should like harden the role based access controls, or like policies into it. How do I have to architect like my whole identity access management solution around that, and how is it different from the solution versus if I have to do it like for some set of like applications which are not AI based.
Yeah. So the applications which are not AI based, even if they have certain privilege permissions, they are confined to that particular resource. But AI is spread across, so you're multiplicating the problem as you bring in more number of endpoints into the purview of this AI, right? AI system. So the permissions are at wider level, and so these have to be treated as uh, highly privileged entities within the organization, right, which has to follow a proper guardrails and the permissions that you have, which requires a constant monitoring of the activities that are being performed, right? And this is where you need all your threat intel mechanisms, and enforcing that these permissions of AIs are thoroughly reviewed, periodically reviewed, and the activities are also periodically assessed. And if any abnormalities are identified, you should have a mechanism to kind of immediately isolate that ID, right? Otherwise, it's gonna elevate it. It's pretty hard for you to keep controlling the nozzle at each resource level. Once you have some sort of an inconsistent behavior being detected, because this is also an ID end of the day, which is used by the AI system, and this ID needs to go through thorough and rigorous monitoring, and appropriate isolations need to be put in place, maybe at the firewall level or at the application level, so that you are not impacting the wider organization.
Got it, got it. And there are also, Sudhir, there are some also AI specific access monitoring tools which are available. There is one good I know, which is the AI SPM, which can detect and respond to privilege escalation. So if there's any like monitoring tool which you can suggest in terms of if there's any privilege escalation or any like excessive attempts or anything which I need to detect and respond towards it, is there any like go-to practice or a tool which you can recommend just to make sure that we are using appropriate practices?
Yeah, I mean, the regular threat intelligence tools can be used,
Hmm.
right? Because this combines both, behavioral based, which it observed, based on the actions it had performed, and it also combines with dark web data, right, or external data that's available outside the organization, right? Who knows? These bot IDs also, like, or these AI service accounts are also exposed
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
dark web, right? So we can continue to use these threat intel platforms to have a good monitoring on these IDs as well, Taha.
Got it, got it. And if let's say if I'm using let's say a cloud platform, let's say an AWS or a Microsoft, Azure, is there any service or tools which you have like come which we
These
have seen which,
platforms
which
have their
performs better
own,
versus another? Mhm.
yeah, these platforms have their cloud native intelligence available, which are
Mhm.
sophisticated, or you can also subscribe for additional, third party related, tooling that are available for cloud native.
Got it. And where do you see the zero trust for AI security comes in here? When it so there is one part. So there are two parts of the group. One is everybody wants to have zero trust, right? It's now has become a buzzword, for a lot of enterprises as well as for a lot of startups as well. And one school of thought is if I use, for example, zero trust, I would be restricting the performance of an AI application or like AI tool, right? So do you see the zero trust methodology is actually working for such a use case?
This is still being tried out on how and what it can actually accommodate, especially with zero trust in AI. It would actually, as you said, it may slow down or hamper what you
Mhm.
anticipate the AI system to do if you bring in
Mhm.
more guardrails than needed, right, in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
yeah,
access.
yeah.
So this is still being actively worked on within larger enterprises. If you treat this to be a regular agentic ID, you will land into all these problems, right? You got to actually see some sort of a mechanism on how these service accounts can be kind of restricted so that it can be well played with these permissions that it has, right? And end of the day, it results into the ID and the access associated in performing this task, right? Which in turn, in this case, is utilized by your the AI system, right? So we got to see how these IDs can be protected itself, first of all, like, with utilization of proper vaulting services so that
Mhm, mhm.
the credentials are not embedded anywhere and the credentials are kind of dynamically retrieved and and they're rotated for every use, right? So I think all these privilege access related principles can be also embedded into this mix, right? That way we are kind of reducing the overall risk as such. And the overall incorporation of zero trust framework itself, as you treat it for regular human identities, has yet to go through a proper vetting process in
Yeah.
this case, right? For sure, it's gonna have its own
Yeah,
innovations in
it's
this
not
area.
it's not ready as of now. That's it's we are still in the preliminary stage, and like anybody claiming that they are using zero trust for AI security, it's actually don't trust on him. Okay,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
simple as this. So
yeah.
now, Sudhir, like I want to like to touch something based on your experience, and you've seen that what is working, what is not working for the solutions, right? So in your view, what are the key lessons that you have learned in terms of your work with IBM, and especially in the AA security space, that what are the things, what are the some things which may not work, and what and how like enterprises can think about their future roadmaps, right? What features, what security best practices they should just focus on rather than just doing it as a whole. Like for example, like making like 20 guardrails, and you just focus on like 3 4 main guardrails which will help you in your future security as well.
Yeah, I mean, as we all know, the landscape is not confined enough. It rapidly growing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where a human cannot think, right? It's being expanded in several directions, even within an organization, right? So right now, the primary guardrails are uh, to be at the data consumption and exposure of the data, and how these models are trained, and how controlling the access to these models, like maintaining who has access to what, and maintaining proper segregation of duties is the key factor in here, right? And again, we have discussed about segregation of duties in a different context previously in the area of identity and access management. But here in this case, the segregation of duties is quite different than what you have seen before, right? And these things has to be enforced, so you don't have a full leverage on the controlling the model itself, right? So if we can take care of at least these guardrails at the access layer, with respect to data, with respect to model execution, with respect to model building, right? And model rollout. So you should be good enough to begin with.
True, well said. I want to just add on a few things that there is one part which is really enforcing security in terms of like hardening identity access management, defining roles, policies, all those things. Then but there is one part also we need to make sure is, just to add on to what you are saying, is we need to have a security governance model as well. We should define the policies for data governance. What are the compliance which you need to follow, or what are the risk management practices around the AI usage. That is something which you have to like keep right up there. Okay.
Correct.
Then it's also should you should have a practice for AI model auditing as well, right? That how you want to like implement model interpretability tools to detect anomalies and biases. And then as you are going through your secure development lifecycle journey, try to do some red teaming exercises, but just to make sure that how your security posture is being working out, right? So
This is
it's
part of your
something.
DevSecOps,
Yeah. So
alignment.
it's one thing which you can just rely on your testing, methodologies and tools, what you can do, and there is another which is actually implementing some like exploitations, planned exploitation, I would say. So that is something which can be useful as well.
Yeah.
Got it. Lastly, Sudhir, what do you think, like for anybody, for a CISO adopting AI, right? What are the top three things he should just focus on, and some of the things which he uh, can leverage in terms of, like the marketplaces, some tools, some testing frameworks, or some governance models. Anything which you want to recommend to the CISOs?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the integration of this AI security into their broader cybersecurity strategy is the key, right? They must have defined their IT security standards. They keep defining them every year, which is what we do in the organization too. And now
Mhm.
coming into the AI into the mix, like for sure, these need to be enhanced, right? Because those would be our reference standards, pretty much, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, again, AI is not just another software, right? It constantly evolving, which is actually brings in a unique risk, right? So we have to treat these AI models as privileged assets and continuously keep assessing these for adversarial actions, which we typically do from a threat intelligence perspective, right? And by meeting all the the required standards at various levels, like at data level, at all, development of model level and whatnot. And
Yeah.
so this has to become the core of your IT security standards.
Got it. Very well said. Just want to add on this point as well that for me, one of the also like recommendations from my side as well is to educate the employees as well, because AI security is an evolving field. No matter who is an expert, it's like the target is keep on moving, right? So just try to include some of the courses as well in trying to upskill the resources, and try to get your team involved in some working groups which are working for some joint initiatives, right? Like this way, you'll have more collaborative approach in terms of problem solving, as well as people will learn from others as well. So this is a very important thing. Try to build like a learning culture in your team. Yeah.
True.
uh, Thank you, Sudhir. It's been great having you, man, with us on the show. And uh, uh, so people who are watching, us, we have a good audience, uh, like in North America and Middle East and like in South Asia. So a lot of people would be watching this. So Sudhir, people who want to reach out to you to learn more about AI security and the amazing things you've been doing, where they can reach out to you.
The best thing is through LinkedIn, and they can search for me in LinkedIn, and that would be the right connection.
Got it, guys. He's very responsive, and he's also published actively on Forbes, as well as different other the platforms. Please, like go through his one of his research work. What I really like is the LLM's work, what he has done for identity access management, as well as for threat detection. So like check out all those articles, and and let us know your thoughts, your comments, that what do you like about, like what things are working for you for AI security. I know it's been an evolving space and things are keep on changing, but still, we have seen some things are working for the enterprises. So it's better to adapt to the things which are working, and just upskill yourself and trying to like learn more, and that how you can like implement AI better and securely. Uh, uh, Thank you, Sudhir. Again, any final thoughts before we actually close the show?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good opportunity to kind of come and exchange things in here, and great initiative. Thank you,
Thank you,
Taha.
Sudhir. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, guys, that's all from us. This is Taha Sajid. Please take a good care of yourself. It's been a crazy weather these days. You know, my throat is also aching. But luckily, it turned out well today. So thank you very much again. I hope you have a wonderful time, and take care of yourself. Until next time, all the best. Goodbye.
Thank you.